Hey everyone. So I'm going to take a little bit of time here to explain what you need to do to complete Writing Assignment 2, Compare Contrast Paragraph. This is your second formal writing assignment. It will function very much like the one from last week, Writing Assignment 1, Evaluation Paragraph, except this time we're writing a completely different type of paragraph. Last week we wrote an evaluation paragraph. This week we're writing a compare-contrast paragraph. How you go about it, how you submit it, will be just like it was last week. It's just a different type of paragraph that you're going to write. You're going to see under this video some very brief instructions that really just tell you what each page consists of in the assignment packet that I have attached under the instruction area. Remember, the packet is just information for you. You do not need to type anything into that. You don't need to submit it back. That assignment packet is just for you so that you can understand what is expected of you, choose a topic if you're having trouble coming up with one on your own, and use the graphic organizers if you choose to use them to help you plan your paragraph. Again, the assignment packet, just there for information purposes, okay? All right, but I'm going to go ahead and share it now, and we're going to go through it together. Okay, so page 1 here of the assignment packet simply explains what you need to do for this assignment. So it says, for this assignment, you will be writing a compare-contrast paragraph, the type of paragraph we discussed in week 6. So you need to choose 2 subjects to compare or contrast in a well-developed paragraph. Again, just one single paragraph, not an essay. Essays come later, right? So one single paragraph in the style of compare and contrast, just like we learned this week in the week 6 module. So you're going to have the freedom to choose your topic, right? But you need to make sure that you have all the elements of a formal college paragraph in general, everything we learned in weeks 1 through 4. And you also need to make sure that it is a compare-contrast paragraph specifically. So what we've learned here in week 6. All right, so in order to get started, you can review chapter 12, which is the chapter in the book that explains compare-contrast, but I would pay more attention to the lesson in the week 6 module, the PowerPoint and the video lesson, okay? Pay special attention to the sample paragraphs that are in the PowerPoint this week. We have also done a discussion in week 3 that is in this style, and it's possible that my feedback might have told you that whatever you posted for your discussion prompt that week would make a good topic for this assignment. We also did 2 journals in this style, the journal from week 4 and the journal from week 5. And again, my feedback on those items might tell you that you had a good topic to use for this assignment. Use those to your advantage. Work smarter, not harder. You aren't required to use any of those topics that you already wrote on for those assignments, but if I told you that you had a good thing going, then that's a little bit less work that you have to put into writing assignment 2 right now. So just think about that. Look at my feedback and make a decision. But once you're confident you understand the type of paragraph that you are supposed to write and you've decided on a topic, I have included graphic organizers again, just like I did last week, that you can use to help you plan the paragraph, okay? Not required, totally there for your benefit, okay? If you're still having trouble coming up with a topic, page 2 of this assignment packet lists some potential topics that we'll look at here in just a moment. When you go to type your paragraph up, obviously you have to make sure that you're doing it as a correct compare-contrast item, but you also want to make sure you include all of those general paragraph elements that we learned about in weeks 1 through 4. You need to have a solid focused and specific topic sentence that clearly tells me the two things you're going to compare and contrast, and it needs to make it clear if you're going to be looking at similarities or differences. If you remember from the lesson this week, you don't want to just randomly look at similarities and differences. There has to be some sort of guiding purpose. You really want to focus on one or the other, right? So make that clear in your topic sentence. You want to make sure you have 3 to 4 points that you're looking at. So 3 to 4 similarities or 3 to 4 differences that you're looking at. And each one needs to have specific and adequate support. So whatever your first similarity is, you have to provide enough support. You have to explain what that idea is like in terms of your first topic and what that idea is like in terms of your second topic. So for instance, if I was going to compare and contrast online classes and on-campus classes, let's say the first thing I'm going to talk about is how you interact with your teachers, with your instructors. I have to explain what that's like in the online class, and I have to explain what it's like in the on-campus class. And I have to give them both equal support. I have to discuss each one the same, right? So every point that you make, you have to discuss that point in terms of both of your topics, and you have to do it equally between the two. So don't forget the support. Use the PowerPoint from this week to help you with the organization. You need to create coherence in your supporting sentences by using transitions and connecting words. Make sure that everything flows from one idea to the next, that things aren't just randomly placed in the paragraph. There should be logic to how you've ordered the main ideas, and there should be coherence that connects all of your thoughts. Make sure that you end the paragraph with a point sentence, a concluding sentence that wraps up the paragraph and reminds us of your focus. Make sure you have appropriate voice and tone. You don't want to be super formal. This is still somewhat casual, but you don't want it to be too casual. It is still a college level assignment. So find that balance, right? You don't want to be too inappropriate and too informal, but you also don't want to lose your own voice in the process. Make sure you have correct grammar and mechanics. Think back to the lessons from week 3. Look for sentence fragments. Look for run-on sentences and comma splices especially. Look to make sure you don't have any ineffective writing, that there's not a lot of wordy phrases, that you don't have cliches or cluttered words. Make sure that you don't have faulty modifiers. Look to make sure none of your modifiers are misplaced, and make sure you don't have any dangling modifiers. And also work on combining your thoughts to create longer, more complex sentences, but make sure that in the process, you don't accidentally end up with fragments or run-ons and comma splices, okay? So again, that bulleted list there under helpful tips, those are just all the things that we learned about in weeks 1 through 4 about basic paragraph writing. You have to still include all of those elements. It's just what is inside the paragraph will specifically be compare and contrast, okay? Make sure that it's typed in a formal document, Microsoft Word, Google Docs, a PDF, open document, right? It has to be typed in a formal manner. You will be submitting that file as your assignment. Make sure that you have used an appropriate font and that it is double spaced, okay? All right. That's the basics of what you need to do for this assignment. Remember, the only thing you're going to submit is the file that has your paragraph typed up in it. That's the only thing you need to turn in. That's the only thing that gets graded, okay? If you are still having trouble coming up with a topic, page 2 of the assignment packet gives you a list of potential topics. So we've got life then versus life now. This was your discussion prompt for week 3. You should be able to go to the feedback on that discussion, and you should be able to see what you wrote originally. If you can't, or if you're having trouble finding it, let me know and I can send it to you. You know, if you should definitely be able to read my feedback. And if my feedback says you had a really good idea that you could use for writing assignment 2, but you can't find what you actually wrote in your post, let me know and I will send the post to you, and that way you can see it and decide if you want to use it. Option number 2 is high school versus college. This is one of the options you had to write about in Journal 4. Option 3 is life before kids versus life as a parent. That was the other option you had for Journal 4. Number 4 here, comparing and contrasting 2 people you know. This was your topic in Journal 5. So for Journal 4 or Journal 5, read my feedback. If it says, if either of them say that you had a good topic that you could use for this assignment, you can find your submission, see what you typed up, and decide if you want to use it. Okay. There's also comparing and contrasting online versus on-ground classes, 2 jobs you have had, 2 vacations you've taken, your real life versus what your life would be like in a perfect world. You can compare and contrast 2 musicians or 2 musical groups, bands. You can compare and contrast indoor shopping and online shopping. You can compare and contrast 2 different products, so 2 different types of cell phones, or 2 different types of cars, 2 different types of computers, 2 different types of refrigerators, washing machines, I don't know. Just the possibilities are endless as long as you can come up with enough ideas to look at similarities and differences. Just remember, it has to be 2 of the same type of product. You can't do a cell phone and a laptop. That doesn't make any sense. Has to be 2 types of cell phones, right? Also keep in mind, you're not trying to say that you're not evaluating anything. You're not giving opinions here. This isn't looking at how these 2 things are different to show that one is better than the other. That's not what we're doing here. We are simply doing comparing and contrasting. What are the differences between online and on-campus classes? That's it. Not which do you prefer, not which one is better. It's just focusing on the similarities or the differences. Okay? So there's 11 possible topics. A few of them you have already written about. You've already done some writing in this style. Check out my feedback and decide if you want to use those topics. If none of them on this list appeal to you, then there are endless possibilities. If you're unsure, if you want to make sure that you're on the right track with your own topic, run it by me. I'll let you know if I think it'll work for this assignment. But try to land on your topic soon so that you can then start planning the paragraph. Which brings us to the last few pages of this assignment packet. So first we start with a basic graphic organizer. So this first worksheet right here, page 3 of the assignment packet, is just getting you started on the basics of your paragraph. So number 1, it says you are going to compare and contrast these 2 subjects, and then fill in your blanks. State if you are going to focus on the similarities or differences, not both. So think about it. If you're looking at online shopping and in-store shopping, what are you going to focus on in the paragraph? Are you going to look at how they're different? Or are you going to look at how they're actually similar? Write that down. Make sure that you have decided which one you're going to focus on. 3, list the 3 or 4 similarities or differences that you're going to focus on. What's your first similarity or difference going to be? Then your second, then your third. If you have a 4th, list it as well. Which method of organization are you going to use? One side at a time or point by point? If you aren't sure what I mean by that, you need to go back to the PowerPoint in week 6, because those are the two ways that you can organize a compare-contrast paragraph successfully. You have to choose one of them, but make sure you understand what each one means. Decide which one you feel most comfortable with, which one you think makes the most sense, given your topics and the points that the similarities or differences you're going to look at. Decide for yourself, are you going to use one side at a time or point by point? Write that on line 4. And number 5 here says, depending on your answer to number 4, fill out one of the outlines below and use the outline to assist you as you type your paragraph. So if in number 4 you decided you're going to use the one side at a time method, then you're going to use this first outline to help you. Then just this first one side at a time outline. What's your topic sentence going to be? Type it out. What's your first subject? Online classes. Okay, what's the first thing you want to say about online classes? Write that idea here. What's the second thing you want to talk about with online classes? Write it there. What's the third thing you want to talk about? Write it here. Is there a fourth idea that you're going to talk about? If so, write it there. Subject B then would be on-campus classes. The first similarity or difference should match up here. So for instance, with online classes, if the first thing we talked about was interacting with instructors, then here for on-ground classes, the first thing we're going to talk about is interacting with instructors. If we talked about our second thing up here for online classes was how we interact with classmates, that's the second thing we're going to talk about down here with on-campus classes. If we talked about transportation or, saving money, right? Up here with online classes, we're going to talk about that same idea down here with on-ground classes. If we talked about distractions up here with online classes, we're also going to talk about distractions down here for on-campus classes. So that's why it says should match subject A. Whatever you wrote on line A up here, that's the same thing needs to be discussed down here. Obviously, you're going to say something different about it, but it should be the same point that's being looked at. And follow the order. If you're doing one side at a time and you're talking about everything with online classes up here or whatever your first topic is, you have to make sure that when you get down to subject B, you talk about everything in the same order. That's why this outline is so helpful. And then what is your concluding sentence going to be? What's the last idea or the last thing you want to end with? And then you have your outline and you can go type your paragraph. Again, this outline does not get submitted. It's there just to help you. Okay. Now, if up here in number 4, you decided to use the point by point method, then you're going to skip this outline and come down to page 5, because this is the outline for a point by point paragraph. You're still going to fill in your topic sentence. But now the next item on the outline is what is the first similarity or difference you want to focus on? Let's just say instructors. All right. So what do you have to say about instructors in terms of online classes? And what do you have to say about instructors in terms of on-campus classes? Then we move on to our next main point. We'll just say classmates. All right. What do you have to say about classmates in online classes? What do you have to say about classmates with on-campus classes? Right? What do we have to say? Our third similarity or difference is going to be money. I don't know. What do you have to say about money in terms of online classes? What do you have to say about money in terms of on-campus classes, right? Our last difference is distractions. What do you have to say about distractions for online classes? And what are you going to say about distractions in terms of on-campus classes? And then how are you going to end your paragraph? Once you have it finished, you're ready to type your paragraph. Use the outline and follow your pattern. Follow the order that you have everything listed here on the outline. And again, the outline does not get submitted. It's there just to help you. Okay? All right. So I do highly suggest using one of those outlines to help you with this paragraph, because the one thing that students have to work on the most if they don't do very well the first time around on this paragraph is the organization. That's where they falter almost every time. So make sure that you're clear on the organization. If you're fuzzy on it, if you're not sure, use one of the outlines to help you. If you're not sure which outline to use, if you don't know, go back to the PowerPoint and review chapter 12 and see if that helps you, and then reach out to me, because maybe bouncing some ideas off of me, I can help you figure out which method would work better. And then once you know which method you need to use or want to use, then it becomes a little easier to figure out how to actually go about doing it. The outlines can help tremendously. Okay, so that is everything for writing assignment 2, compare contrast paragraph. Remember, the only thing you're actually going to submit and get graded on is the paragraph itself that you type up in a document and attach and submit to the assignment. That's it. Everything else that I've gone over in that packet is just for your information and for your benefit, okay? All right. If you have any questions, let me know. Remember, you will get an opportunity to revise if you aren't happy with your score the first time around. So do your best, but don't stress yourself out over it too much. Sometimes it takes getting someone's feedback to see what you need to work on and where you could have done things a little differently. That's the writing process, okay? I don't require the revision because some students are fine with their grade the first time around. But I always offer the opportunity to revise, because that's the real world. That's writing in real life. It's very rarely that you get it perfect the first time around. So try to do as good as you can, because the better you do the first time around, the less work you'll have to do for the revision if you decide to do it. But don't kill yourself over this. Just do your best, and then you'll get my feedback. And if you want to revise it, you'll be given the opportunity to do so. These are worth a big percentage of your overall grade, though, so be prepared for it to have a big impact on your grade, one way or the other, which is why, again, the opportunity to revise is there. If you do really poorly on this the first time around, for whatever reason, you're going to see your overall grade take a nosedive. But just remember, you have the option of revising, and you'll have my feedback, very detailed feedback, to help you fix it, okay? So do your best. Let me know if you have any questions along the way. Otherwise, you are free to go ahead and get started, and I will be looking forward to reading them.